For whatever reason, they have not got a lot of airtime here in the Nutnfancy project. So perhaps it's time to remind you of their still continued awesomeness. Two outstanding Benchmade folding knives, considered Hall of Famers by me here in the Nutnfancy project, TMP for short. They're going to set the stage for this old school Nutnfancy knife review. First up, Mr. Mini Reflex 2550. What an outstanding mid-sized automatic blade this is. Yep, generally you'll have to be Leo military to own these. In some locales, as a civilian, you can own them. Go look at your local laws and regulations. But if you can score yourself a Mini Reflex 2550, prepare to fall in love. It gets pretty much everything right for a mid-sized auto knife. First up, the blade shape is outstanding. Drop point, full flat ground. This version is satin finished 154 cm steel. 7000 series aluminum handle. That's pretty standard in the auto knife world. Deployment button, no issues with that. Safety on the back, you never need that. I never use it. The outstanding Benchmade pocket clip. And this sucker is built like a tank and very durable in my experience. Yep, check that out. That's where my flight suit zipper has worn on the 2550 over the years. I kept this clipped right on my right thigh flight suit pocket. A duty knife, and it has served me very well. Love the 2550. And it's only 2.9 ounces? Amazing. How about value? Around $1.25. That is $125, which if you've priced auto knives, you'll know that's a very good buy. Okay? However, like I usually say in some reviews, the plot thickens. I've kind of fallen out of favor with auto knives, 2550 notwithstanding. In other words, I think you can get a lot more blade by staying away from them if you go a manual action knife. And if you get one that is superbly balanced and ultra fast, who needs an auto? Enter its stablemate, also a Hall of Famer here in the Nutnfancy project, previously reviewed, highly recommended, the awesome 940 Osborne Axis, also by Benchmade. To hold and play with a Benchmade 940 is to fall in love with it and want one. Yep, if you're any type of knife fanatic, I really don't see how you couldn't fall in love with the 940 or 2550 for that matter. They're both outstanding Hall of Famers here in TMP. What's so special about the 940? Well, you can look up my review, but it goes something like this. I love the blade shape. The reverse Tonto blade shape in this knife works for me. Delicate tip for detail work. This one is a stone-washed 154 cm steel blade. I think current versions are using the supposedly, in some people's eyes, better S30V. Good handle coloration, this one. This was a special edition, red. Isn't that wicked awesome? 2002, stamped right there. It's been a user, though, in the Nutnfancy project. You can see a few rust spots there. Yep, trout knife on many backpacking adventures here in TMP. This 940 has served as well. Yeah, it's a special edition, but I decided to make it a user as well. You can see, though, I take care of it. You know, even got a couple rust spots, I know. Look at the speed, though. I'm getting carried away again. It's fast. Who needs an auto when it rocks like that? Locks up tight. The axis lock again. I'm repeating a lot of stuff I've said before. Look at the blue titanium backspacer. Awesome pocket clip. The only miss on it is this is aesthetic only jimping. That is a miss. However, both of these knives still achieve Hall of Fame status here in TMP. Reference blades. What's a reference blade? To me, it means that I'll throw something up against it and say, well, is it as good as a 940? For the amount of money I'm spending, does it give the same level of performance as a 940 or a 2550 if you're talking auto knives? For the same price? And more importantly, does it achieve for me personally, and this is a very individual thing, the second type of cool, where the end result of the blade is greater than the sum of its parts? What am I saying? Well, okay, it's aluminum handle, it's 154 cm steel. Okay, whatever, yawn, but when you put them all together, Benchmade style, it creates, for me personally, something special. Yep, something that I become passionate about, that I look forward to carrying. Why is that? Well, one, they're lightweight, easy to carry along. This one is what? 2.6 ounces for a 940? Amazing. Here's another reason I love these blades. they're mid-sized. A mid-sized blade like this can flex into a lot of different POUs, primarily EDC, right? I'm adding length to the video, but it's fun. This one's also mid-sized. I'm always on the lookout for blades similar to these that can achieve the same type of enthusiasm for me personally, because of their size, perhaps their weight, the quality materials, and more importantly, fit, finish, and how the knife turns out. Enter the subject of this review. I know I just spent 5 minutes on Benchmades. It's interesting though. It's an interesting setting of the stage. Here it comes. Wilson Combat ELC. ELC stands for Extreme Light Carry. Look at the sizing first and foremost. Very similar to the 940. Very similar to the 2550. That is a plus in my book. Okay, I'm going to get to the talking points, Nutnfancy style, here in just a second. I will tell you this, though. I was a little bit surprised not the 2550, but the Wilson Combat ELC was as small as it was. Because in the magazine ad where I first saw it, I thought it was a much bigger knife. No, I didn't specifically check the specifications on it. So when I got it, pulled it out of the box, I was like, oh, that's smaller. I thought it was going to be like a big tactical blade. Well, at first, slightly disappointed, I won't lie. However, it grew on me as I carried it throughout the months. Wilson Combat ELC is actually a Daryl Ralph design. And from my information, it is produced by Fox Cutlery in Italy, an Italian-produced blade under license from Daryl Ralph, no doubt. And then Wilson Combat puts their name on it. The same knife exists in the Fox Cutlery lineup, and it's called the Fox Gun Hammer. Don't confuse it with their full-size gun hammer or tactical folding knife. That's a different blade altogether. Very zero tolerance looking, big old heavy tactical blade. This one's different. Okay, so same blade, the Extreme Light Carry by Wilson Combat, and the Fox Gun Hammer, same blade. Almost. There is a difference, I think. I'll try to cover it in the talking points. Let's rock. POU size and weight. I would say perhaps this particular knife, the ELC by Wilson Combat, is a little bit oversold as a tactical blade. Yep, I'm banging into stuff here. That's because it's a little bit on the small size when we're talking about a tactical philosophy of use. Okay, 3.2 inches is the blade length. For me, that's a little bit too small for emergency defensive use. Your mileage may vary. I know. What does Wilson say about that? It's kind of funny, actually. They say heavyweight tactical performance in a midweight package. Okay, well, that's debatable. I do think you could use this as an emergency defensive tool. I think it's strong enough, sharp enough, the sweep of the blade, the tip, all those factors combined to make it a very formidable knife, albeit a smaller knife. Okay, again, by way of reference, just because it's handy, perhaps a better tactical blade would be the Cold Steel Recon 1. Bigger knife, bigger handle, you know, which is very important in the tactical role if you ask me. This is wearing the underclip modification, JB Weld style. Okay, just by way of reference. You could use it as a tactical blade. I think its primary role is EDC, baby. Yep, kind of a tactical flavor EDC with a Wilson Combat Extreme Light. And we get back to the mid-sized category, which I really, really love. The 940, the 2550, which I introed the video with, have this. That blade is perfectly sized for most, not all, most of your cutting tasks you're going to run into during the day. Another good example of this one might be the Kershaw Energy 1740. I've mentioned that in other reviews. I love that blade size. And if we compare it, you can see the ELC is a little bit bigger. Like that. I think mid-sized blades will function so well in the EDC role. Also, we're talking POU still here. Collectability. How many of these do you know that your friends have? Not too many. I mean, they may have some Benchmade, some Cold Steels. You know, you crank out your Wilson Combat ELC. I guarantee you there's not going to be a lot of guys owning that. Size is ideal for the EDC role. Perhaps not ideal for the tactical role. There's your bottom line right there. Also, they call it the Extreme Light Carry. Might be just a bit of a misnomer because it's 3.8 ounces. Okay, keeping it real. Remember this one, 2.6 ounces, 2.9 ounces. For what they are, i.e. 7000 series aluminum handles, those are extreme lightness. or represent extreme lightness. The ELC, 3.8 ounces, don't get me wrong, very carryable. I know I've been cranking with it for a couple months. It's an enjoyable knife to carry. Usually 4 ounces is what I like for my EDC blades, and perhaps very lightweight tactical blades as well. This one comes under that. I still think it's manageable. However, extreme light might be taking it just a little bit too far. Steel and blade shape. Italian produced knife, and it's featuring Austrian made N690 CO steel. Produced by, hope I can say it right, Böhler Udenholm, Austria. Nutnfancy, what do you think about N690 steel? Here's what I think about it, and I've just recently learned it from personal experience. Data point number 1. You see the wear and tear on this blade? That came about by way of lots of cardboard cutting. Yes, I looked for the footage and I somehow deleted it, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. I cut up 2 large, I'm talking very large cardboard boxes with the ELC. I came away very impressed. I'm not going to say good, I'm going to say excellent edge retention. And I'm not just saying that. By the way, this is a DLC blade coating, which might be an advantage for you going with the Wilson Combat version. I think that stands for diamond-like carbon. It's been known to double the life in bone saws. Gives a low frictional property, wear resistance, absolute corrosion resistance. I'm a fan. However, in my cardboard cutting test, you can see it kind of wore through some layers right there. See? I think it just makes the blade look cooler. Very impressed after cardboard cutting. Stabbed through it, no tip damage noted, no rolling of the edge noted, and most importantly, the edge came back very easily with a ceramic rod. And this steel takes a very fine edge. Very impressed with that. Here tell that vanadium kind of lends itself to a very fine grain structure with the N690 steel. And then it also has the cobalt in it as well, supposedly to help prevent cracking. Okay, first data point, very impressed. That is my own cutting against cardboard. Here's the other one. I took a Spyderco Hossam, I think it was a Forester, out, thumped on it in the snow pretty hard. The blade did not break, it did not chip. It was superb in my cutting test. And more importantly, I left that blade out intentionally 36 hours in the snow to see what would happen to the steel. Not even a rust spot on it. That's the N690 steel. Is it a miracle steel? Nope. What I'm just saying is the data points I've had so far. Also, that Hossam, after my chopping and cutting with it, great edge on it. By the way, that one wears a convex edge, which is a little bit stronger. I think N690 steel is reminiscent of VG10 in my experience. Very fine edge capability, great rust resistance, and it's not impossible to bring back that factory edge, which, by the way, is razor sharp out of the box. I am a fan of the N690. Do I prefer it over some other steels? Dudes, I'm still learning. I'm just passing on what I know at this point. Subject to change. It seems pretty darn good, though. This 3.2 inch blade, by the way, is not too thick. Thank heavens. 0.115 inches in thickness. I think that equates to 3 millimeters. Yeah, about 81 millimeters overall length for my Euro friends. Love that blade shape. Not absolutely full flat ground. There is a flattened portion right here. Okay, but from this point on, great belly, great tip. That's a Wilson Combat ELC. Oh, and what is that? Jimping! Lacking on the otherwise outstanding Benchmade 940 Osborne Axis, the jimping run on the ELC, or for that matter, the Fox Cutlery gun hammer, is excellent. It's a small run, but it's sharp and digs into the thumb just like all jimping should. So that's why I said it could perhaps flex into the tactical arena, because you have some good traction. You also have, I'm kind of flexing to the handle here, a good indentation, which I hope to cover. Okay, so that's a steel and blade shape as I know it right now. Let's talk about speed. Very important, very important. When we're talking about a knife that is greater than the sum of its parts, like the 940, one of the things that I look for, speed, ease of deployment. In fact, can I just do it with thumb tension alone? The answer is an absolute yes. Very impressed with the speed of the Wilson Combat ELC. It comes out as fast as a 940. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Very fast blade, solid lockup, no wiggle left and right, up and down. A very impressive execution and balance out of this knife by Fox. and executing, no doubt, Daryl's design perfectly. By the way, that speed can be attributed to, if we look in there, phosphor bronze bushings. And then there's a Teflon bushing on the other side there. See that? Great speed. I couldn't fault it at all. Strength. It is a liner lock. Is that a good or bad thing? Depends on your point of view. When you first look at the ELC, you might be surprised at how thin the liner lock is. It seems a little bit thin to me. Remember this though. That is hardened stainless steel on the interior of the ELC. Why is that important? Well, having tried to drill out hardened stainless steel liners, specifically Benchmade Rift, breaking several bits, even 100% carbide bits, you have to understand how strong hardened stainless steel is. Very strong. Would I like it to be a little bit thicker? Just for my own sensibilities, perhaps, but I think it will do the job in most of the philosophies of use you'll put this knife in. Dig? You can see how the engagement surface there, it's adequate. I think the liner lock is fine. I do prefer the axis lock better. Sorry, just do. Love it. The liner lock though, excellent in this. It's easy to disengage too. It rises just a little bit from the handle, just like so. Very comfortable knife to actuate and unlock. Strength will be adequate for most intended purposes. If you're planning on abusing it, or if you're looking for a really, really strong knife, you're going to have to get one that's going to be heavier, probably more expensive. It depends. And you may not like the ELC. I'm just saying, handle material. I got to crank this review, man. I want it to be shorter. I love the handle material. That was a big plus when I first started researching the ELC. I liked the looks of it. First off, we're talking second type of cool here. It's something different. Looks kind of like a bow constrictor, doesn't it? They call it coarsely textured G10. I think it is proprietary Fox cutlery material. I haven't seen it on other blades. I'm talking this pattern. This portion right here is just as aggressive as, I don't know, the Cold Steel AK-47's Recon series, which to me is reference standard G10 in its traction ability. Okay, the ELC is no less different. I just love it. Here's another big plus on the handle material. First off, I got to address this. It is a thick knife. Okay, it's going to be thicker than the Hall of Famers that I introed with. See that? That is generally in the Nutnfancy book a bad thing. Sorry, it just is. Here's a 2550. However, I'm going to make an exception with the ELC, and here's why. It's more ergonomic. With the thicker G10 scales, they have a very nicely rounded profile on that coarse textured G10. See that? In hand, the ergonomics, going ahead, jumping around, talking points, are excellent. For you guys that have bigger hands and still like a mid-sized blade like the ELC, I think you'll really love the handle on the ELC or the gun hammer, whichever version you end up getting. They're excellent. Very comfortable, warm to the touch. I'm a big fan of G10, especially when it's executed this nicely. Under the clip issues with the G10, I didn't really notice any. You can see there's some smooth portions right there. By that, what I'm saying, will it shred your pocket? I didn't notice it, and that's why I do my under the clip mods on a lot of those Cold Steels, so I don't shred my pockets. Okay, I probably forgot some stuff. Oh yeah, let me tell you this. It is nested stainless steel liners when we're talking about handle. Okay, the 3.8 ounce carry weight to me is still a little bit high. Yep, it is. But at least they did try to attempt to mill out the liners. You can see that here. Lighting duties, Preon 2 by 4.7s. Awesome. See that? They probably milled out as much as they felt comfortable with. I don't know if Daryl specified it in his design or not. Steel liners, and I talked about the hardened stainless steel. They're nested. You can take the handle apart, mini torques all the way around. I always like that. By the way, that's a 6061 aluminum backspacer. I think it accounts for a lot of the weight. It's not 100% pillar construction, which I generally prefer, Nice handle, though. Very nice handle. Forward grip works. Reverse grip works if you ever wanted to use it that way as well. Ergonomics overall, because of the jimping, by the way, and the excellent thumb ramp and the great handle, are outstanding. One other thing I got to mention. The ambi thumb studs. These thumb studs are also excellent. No volcano issues at all on them. Very easily managed. and attacked even with gloved hands. I know because I tried it. Clip design. Hey, we're making progress, man, little by little. The clip design is good, if not excellent. I don't mind the thin clip, you know, as long as it's strong enough. Here comes a little thwack test. Yeah, it's pretty strong. I've worn it in my pocket for months. I didn't have any issues with it. I kind of wish that perhaps they bent it more towards the handle. I haven't taken off and done that myself. Easy mod. Compared to, I don't know, just because we said it, the Benchmade clips, you can see the difference. And thankfully it carries the proper orientation for knives. Just my personal preference, tip up. Reversible for left and right carry if you're a lefty. That's a plus side, but you cannot go tip down on the ELC. I think the clip is excellent. Carries relatively deeply. However, guys that don't want it completely buried in their pocket will be very happy because there's about that much right there protruding. Okay, durability. Well, cardboard testing pretty much answered the question for me on this. First up with the blade coating. I was amazed it wore as well as it did. Be advised from my information, if I'm wrong, I'll annotate it. I don't think I am. The Fox cutlery version of this knife, that is the Fox gun hammer, wears a Teflon coating. This proprietary Wilson, maybe say licensed Wilson Combat version has the much tougher DLC coating on it. I think it's worth the extra money for this coating. I'm impressed with it. It looks good. It does what they say it will and increases cutting performance, I think, as well. The strength of the liner, I think, will be adequate. Once again, I don't think you'll break the knife either as long as you don't abuse it. Let's talk about value. Oh, let me mention this too. Yeah, this is in value as well. If you get the Wilson Combat version, you're going to get a cool lanyard along with it. Not this one. I swapped the color out, but here's a picture of the one you'll get. I think it's pure black. Very cool. Made by their subsidiary, I think. They're an annotation, paracord.com. I like it, though. And it comes with a very nice tin. I think the Fox Cutlery version does as well. Okay, so if you're giving it... Oh, there's that lanyard right there. That's it. The Fox Cutlery version has the same thing. Okay, value, though, around 130 bucks, subject to change, for the Wilson Combat version. Okay, look in annotation for any specials I might be able to work for you guys. Okay, and I'm going to show you both sources of the blade. That is the Wilson Combat version, which to me is preferred for the reasons I've told you, and then also the Fox Cutlery version, both of which are subject to cancellation, discontinuing, all that other stuff. Okay, this is interesting too. That price puts it right in the ballpark of these two knives as well. Okay, and we get back to the intro of the whole review. I think the Wilson Combat knife is kind of like these two blades. Size-wise, obviously, it's a mid-sized, mostly EDC blade, perhaps tactical as well. Let me crank this down so you can see it better. I think it's an outstanding blade that is actually greater than the sum of its parts. It's a special knife. I really enjoyed carrying the Wilson ELC. Yes, even at 3.8 ounces. Some guys think I'm so turned off by a slightly heavier blade. Yeah, it is heavier, but it's a very enjoyable knife to use. The speed at which it comes out, the solid lockup, the comfort of the handle, the finger choil, the indentation, the thumb ramp, great blade, and then you add in to what I perceive to be outstanding performance of the N690 steel. Your mileage may vary. The cool factor on the Wilson Combat ELC, pretty high, pretty high. Will it rise to be a Hall of Famer in the Nutnfancy project? I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see how popular it is. But with me, it kind of is from what I've seen already. The only hit I could really give it is the weight. And that really is a very minor hit. It's still under 4 ounces, 3.8. Size-wise, though, the blade just gets it right. Has a razor-sharp edge, great jimping, awesome handle. It's a good-looking blade, too. And you add that cord to it, which makes it faster to extract, especially with gloved hands. Home run, baby. Home run. Maybe another reference blade, maybe not. If it was 2.5 ounces, I'll tell you immediately it would be a reference blade, especially at the price point. Can you beat it with other designs? You bet you can. There's all kinds of blades I reviewed here in TMP that will provide the same cutting performance of all three knives on that table. Again, I already showed you one, 1740 Energy by Kershaw. How about the awesome full flat ground Delica Spyderco, which is, I don't know, about half price of these blades. Excellent. Love this. Love it. Cool factor though. Second type of cool. Does it turn you on? Do you enjoy carrying it? Is it special to you? Does it give you pride of ownership? I will say the Wilson Combat Extreme Light Carry gives all three, or whatever number it was, to me personally, Nutnfancy. That's my review. Outstanding blade. See ya.